Welcome to the Cardboard Crash Course. My name's Ethan, and today we're learning how to play Survivor, The Tribe Has Spoken, the only official Survivor card game, designed by Jeff Probst himself and published by Exploding Kittens. If you want to pick up a copy for yourself, my affiliate link is in the description below. Let's learn how to play. Survivor has been going on for almost 50 seasons, giving us plenty of memorable players. These players are represented as Survivor characters within this game, and are split up into 6 tribes of 2 Survivor characters each. Each player will choose one tribe to represent during their game. We're going to set up for a 3-player game, so we'll leave the red, green, and purple tribes out of the game for the entirety. Other than the Survivor character cards that the players will play as, the game is split up into 67 action cards, 6 vote cards, and 9 tribal council cards split up between single and double elimination tribal councils. We'll first deal one of these vote cards out to each player, and then remove the rest of them from the game. Next, we'll shuffle all the action cards and deal 3 of them to each player. Next, we'll gather each of the tribal council cards we'll need based on the number of players. I'm going to leave this table up for just a moment so you can see exactly what you're working with. But for a 3-player game, we're going to use 4 single elimination tribal councils and remove all of the doubles. Shuffle these all face down. Now I know that I have all single eliminations, but this would matter if I had both single and double, that way I didn't know which one was which. We'll then insert them into the deck, spacing them about evenly throughout. I always find it better to finish the deck with one instead of starting it with one, but as you can see, these tribal council cards are intentionally made larger than the rest of the action cards so that you can see when they're coming. We'll place this modified deck in the center of the table in reach of all players. We'll then place the voting box next to it and leave room for a discard pile. And yes, the voting box is the actual game box. How resourceful. So in front of each player now, they should have 3 action cards, which only they can look at and should not show it to any other players. And they should also have 1 vote card, which will help them vote out other tribe members. And then they should have 2 Survivor character cards, which are double-sided, with the character card in the front and the voted out side in the back. Now, I know, being a fan of the show, that the survivors are called players a lot of the time by Jeff. But in this game, players are the actual humans playing, and anytime the game references Survivor characters, they're talking about the cards in front of you. Speaking of which, these are double-sided and can be voted out. You're still in the game as long as you have at least 1 active tribe member, but as soon as both of your tribe members are voted out, you're eliminated from the game. But hold on, don't leave yet. You still have an important role to play at the very end of the game. Now that you have all the cards in front of you that you need to start the game, you'll pick a first player. Now, the turns will go around and around the table 1 player at a time until a tribal council card has been pulled, in which case you'll do some voting. Now, I'll explain that in a minute, but turns will be as simple as this. You'll first steal a card, then you'll play a card, and then you'll draw a card. It's just those 3 steps. Let's go through each of these really quickly now. The first step on your turn is to steal a card, and that means to pick a player and steal a random action card from them. You'll add it to your hand of action cards. This step is not optional, you have to pick a player to steal from them. Remember, you can't avoid making enemies in Survivor. The next step on your turn is to play a card, and this is the only optional step. You can skip this if you'd like. But essentially, you choose one of the cards in your hand and place it face up in the discard pile. You'll then activate the ability on that card, which will give you many different benefits. For example, this reward challenge card is a game that all the players would play together, and would give a big detriment to the player who comes in last. Another example of a card would be to form an alliance, allowing you and another player to choose a random card from a third player. There are 2 types of cards that cannot be played during this phase of the game, however, and those are extra vote and immunity idol cards. Instead, you use these during tribal councils to either give you an extra vote for a player or protect yourself from being voted out. Again, you cannot play these during this phase and you must keep them in your hand. The final step of your turn is drawing a card, and that's simply taking a card in secret and adding it to your hand from the central draw pile. Play will continue around the table like this until one player draws a tribal council card. Remember that it's when they draw the card, so during their turn where the tribal council card is on top of the deck, they'll still steal a card and be able to play a card if they'd like, and then they'll trigger the tribal council. If it's a single elimination, then one Survivor character will be voted out at the end of this tribal council. And if it's a double elimination, 2 of them will be. Now, if you're the player who drew the Tribal Council card, you are the Tribal Council leader. And this is what you say. Welcome to the Tribal Council. If any player has any Tribal Council Advantage cards, they may play them now. Players may play Tribal Council Advantage cards at this point. These are cards that give them extra abilities or protection during this Tribal Council phase. After any or all players have played any Tribal Council Advantage cards that they'd like to in player turn order, then say, now let's discuss who will be voted out. We can form alliances, ask questions, speak the truth, tell lies, or even pull another player into another room to speak in private. After any discussion has concluded, now say, time to vote. And here's how it works. Each player is going to close their eyes and tap on the table in rhythm so that no single player can tell how many votes are being cast and for who. The vote box will be passed around and around the table so that each player has a single chance to cast votes. When it's your turn to cast votes, open your eyes and place your vote card and any extra vote cards you like in the slots of your choice, casting a single vote or multiple for different players. Close your eyes again, begin the rhythm, and pass the box on to the next player. Remember, announce at the beginning of this, I am the Tribal Council leader. I'll vote first. And now that all players had a chance to vote, the Tribal Council leader announces, everybody open your eyes. If anyone has an immunity idol and would like to play it, now is your time to do so. Give the players a moment to decide whether they'd like to or not, or even bluff that they have one. After everybody has decided, announce, okay, I'll open the box and tally the votes. The box lid opens magnetically, and you can announce one by one who has had votes cast for them, and then decide who has the most votes, at which point that player has been voted out. In a single elimination Tribal Council, the player with the most votes cast for them must flip over one of their survivor character cards to be voted out. After the Tribal Council has concluded, return 1 vote card to each player who still has a survivor character card remaining, and then discard into the central discard pile any extra vote cards used. Play will then continue as normal from the person clockwise from the Tribal Council leader. Now, as soon as only 2 players are remaining in the game, regardless of how many survivor character cards they have, it's time for the final Tribal Council to determine the winner of the game. Now, this is where all the players that were eliminated previously during the game and have 2 voted out survivor character cards in front of them become part of the jury to determine the winner. The final 2 players are going to try to convince the jury that they deserve to be the winner. They'll answer these 3 questions. What was your strategy coming into the game? What was your best move in the game? And how well did you outplay your opponents? The final 2 players are allowed as much time as they need to plead their case. Now, they can't play any cards at this time, but they can reveal anything they have from their hand in order to count as evidence. For example, getting to the end of the final Tribal Council while still having an immunity idol card in your hand takes a lot of skill, and might be used as evidence to determine yourself as being deserving of the $1 million. Or, winning the game. While these discussions are happening, members of the jury will place their fingers pointed up to represent that they're ready to vote on the winner of Survivor. Once all jury members have done so, they will say in unison, the winner of Survivor is 3, 2, 1, and then they'll point simultaneously at the player who they believe deserves to win Survivor. The player with the most votes pointed at them wins the game. Now, in the case of a tie, the final tribal leader will override that and determine a winner, but that's seldom the case if one player has made a good enough case for themselves. A great thing to keep in front of every player during the game is the Survivor Survival Guide. This is double-sided and shows all of the rules of all of the different action cards in the game, and shows when they can be played, either on your turn or at a specific turning point. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, and you want to purchase this game for yourself, you can use my affiliate link in the description, which will give me a small monetary kickback. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time on the Cardboard Crash Course. The tribe has spoken.